after governor, Democrats, Republicans, independents have all looked at it and said, there is nothing there. The election was clean, or as clean as elections go in this country, and Joe Biden is the president-elect. Abby, I have to say, it makes perfect sense that the Trump presidency would end this way, but it is no less shocking and saddening to witness.
It's a real tragedy, I think, for this country that this is what we're seeing now. And it's the result of a president who has instigated this from the very beginning, when months ago he refused to say that he would support a peaceful transfer of power. This is the moment that would come into play, where he can say, I lost the election, Joe Biden will be the next president, evacuate the Capitol right now. He won't say it. But what's also really notable about watching this scene, a few months ago in Washington, where we live and where we work, you couldn't drive down the street without being stopped by National Guard vehicles, by law enforcement of every type and every stripe. The Bureau of Prisons was here in Washington. Every block of this city was in lockdown because of Black Lives Matter protesters. Now you have thousands of armed protesters who happen to all be Trump supporters, who are mostly not Black Lives Matter protesters. They're mostly white. And they're storming the Capitol with violence. Someone has been shot. Glass is being broken. Lawmakers are in lockdown wearing gas masks. And it's looking at these pictures, where's law enforcement? Capitol Police struggling to control this, and you don't hear the president saying, we are sending reinforcement. You don't see him saying, we are sending help to protect this federal building, to protect the lawmakers who are inside of it and the people who work there and the people of the city. That is incredibly shameful.
No, you're exactly right. And, you know, what we're looking at, you see the scaffolding there. Well, first of all, look at this. It's getting violent outside. But
I think these are images from earlier.
Or images from earlier, but part of the reason why we saw scaffolding on the west front of the Capitol is because that's where the inauguration for Joe Biden is going to happen on January 20th. And it was 4 years ago, almost to the day, January 20th, 2017, that Donald Trump stood in that spot after he took the oath of office and talked about American carnage. And it's come full circle. After all of the drum beating, after all of the you know, unbelievable tweeting and inciting of violence that he has done, both at rallies and on social media, he got what he wanted. And now they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. They're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Pick your analogy, and you can't do it. You can't do it, and I'm not sure. I know, Jake, I'm guessing you're going to say you're not sure that the president even wants to do that, but we do know that the people around him are wanting to do that. They want to stop this from happening.
What I want to ask is, because I saw conservative commentator Jonah Goldberg, who is a critic of President Trump,
yeah,
because he's somebody who actually cares about conservative values. Jonah tweeted something about the 25th Amendment, which is when a president is not capable of carrying out his constitutional duties, the cabinet gets together and basically removes him from power. And I'm wondering if, I don't think he would tweet something like that lightly. I know he wouldn't. And when you're looking at what's going on, the violence going on the U.S. Capitol right now, something we have never seen in the United States, I'm wondering whether or not that's something that the cabinet should consider. But we'll talk about that in 1 second. I want to go right now to the White House, where Caitlin Collins is. And Caitlin, this is absolutely disgusting, and it is entirely President Trump's fault, aided and abetted by his supporters. Is he going to do anything to stop it?
So far, he hasn't. Jake, he's only put out 2 tweets. His last one said, the people on Capitol Hill should remain peaceful. And if you're looking at those scenes, nothing about that is peaceful, given that we are seeing armed standoffs, a woman being shot, reinforcements being sent to the Hill, and instead the president is not acting like this is the reality that's happening, even though he is currently sitting in the West Wing watching this coverage unfold, I am told by multiple people. And Jake, the president is being encouraged by staff to put out a stronger statement about what is happening with his supporters on Capitol Hill right now. But so far, he has declined to do so, and he has declined to tell them to get out of the building. Instead, he has only sent out those 2 tweets, including the one asking them to remain peaceful, saying we are the party of law and order. But Jake, clearly these are his supporters. They are wearing his sweatshirts and waving his flags, and the president is refusing advice from staff to put out a stronger statement on what you are seeing happening right now.
I wonder if there is anybody with a conscience in the cabinet who is considering doing anything to stop this, because this is a nation of laws, and there is a provision in the Constitution, the 25th Amendment, to step in when the president is not capable of governing. Let me go to Jim Acosta right now. Jim, what are you hearing from people inside the White House? This is an absolutely revolting, in both senses of the word, display. And it is President Trump inspired this, encouraged this, is not stopping it, is entirely responsible.
Oh, he's totally responsible, Jake, no question about it. I should point out in just the last minute, Kayleigh McEnany, the outgoing White House press secretary, she just put out a tweet saying that the president, at his direction, has ordered the National Guard over to the U.S. Capitol to get control of the situation. Her tweet says the National Guard is on the way along with other federal protective services. We reiterate President Trump's call against violence and to remain peaceful. That is the totality of that tweet from the White House press secretary, Jake. But I will tell you, this is not sufficient. As you know, Jake, we have a White House briefing room. It has lights, it has cameras, it has people ready for the President of the United States or the White House press secretary or the chief of staff, at the very least, to come in and call for calm. That is not happening. They're putting out tweets. That's it. That is the entirety of their response at this point, and it's just insufficient. I walked up to the upper press area of the West Wing just a short time ago. That's where the press secretary has her office, other staffers and on the comm staff and so on. These young press aides, they're the last ones who are here. They're sort of the dead enders of the Trump administration. They seem dumbstruck. They seem shell-shocked. Looking at their faces, they just don't seem to understand what is unfolding around them, and it is astonishing. I will tell you, I've never seen anything quite like it in my 8 years covering the White House. A White House staff that appears to be immobilized, incapable of dealing with the situation. And as Caitlin was just saying, part of the reason why is because the president is just watching this on TV. He is now a spectator of the destruction that he has unleashed. He is not acting as a commander-in-chief anymore. He is just a television viewer-in-chief, watching all of this unfold. And it's disgraceful. It's just one of the most disgraceful things I think we're ever going to witness in our lives.
No, absolutely. Shame on him. Shame on what he has brought to this country, the destruction and the division, and now the violence we see at the U.S. Capitol, stopping the U.S. constitutional duties of the members of Congress from being carried out, to his everlasting shame. Anderson.
Jake, as you said, this is the legacy of Donald J. Trump, and frankly of every member of his family who has worked around him, who has supported him and enabled him. His sons, his daughter Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner. This is what they and all the enablers around him have brought. The administration, which has called themselves the Law and Order Administration, the president would like to call himself a Law and Order president. This is what their vision of law and order is. Imagine this was a group of black protesters. Imagine this was a group of thousands of Muslims who had stormed the Capitol. Imagine what would happen then, how the reaction would have been different. Senator Santorum, you've worked in, the Senate building. Seeing these images, what do you think?
Well, it's heartbreaking. And I understand people's anger. I understand a lot of people feel that the country is at stake. But what I don't understand is how people have lost faith in our country to the point where they feel they have to do things like this. That somehow or another that there's just no other opportunity to deal with the challenges that we have in front of us other than to storm the Capitol. That is considered to be a rational act by people who say they love America. You love America, you understand the greatness of our country is the great institutions we have, and you defend those institutions. You defend our Constitution. You don't try to overturn through violence and protest the things that you say you value. And so I see what's going on here. I see people breaking into the Capitol and breaking into the Senate chamber, and all because they think that the country is being taken away from them. I would just say that you are adding to the hopelessness of people, and you're not doing anything to restore the greatness of America by tearing it down.
Then,
So it's
then we hear a lot of talk about, the understandably they are aggrieved. There have been generations of people in this country who have not had rights, who have not had the right to vote, who have not had the right to marry, who have not had the equality that most of us are able to take for granted because of the zip code we were born in and the color of our skin, or our status in society. And so the idea that these people feel themselves so aggrieved, I mean, there were generations of people who actually had real grievances. These are wannabe weekend warriors who are all just hopped up and filled with self-righteous indignation based on lies.
This is treason.
Yeah.
This is treason. This is insurrection. This is rebellion. Period. I have heard people looking at small protests in Portland, Oregon, where people were tear gassed, beaten, kidnapped. And they said, no. Whatever you do to those protests is okay, because we have to have law and order. We have to have law and order. This is rebellion. It is treason. It is lawlessness. It is unacceptable. And we are on a glide path at this point to having to look down the barrel of possible civil war. When all the things we talk about up here sound so abstract, when we talk about the peaceful transfer of power, it just sounds like something from a book. This is what it looks like when you don't have a peaceful transfer of power. Abraham Lincoln talked about some people want rule or ruin. If I can't have it my way, I'll burn the whole country down. If I can't have it my way, I will burn the country down. So now I don't think that Republicans and conservatives can look at this and say this is okay. I'm calling on all of my conservative friends, my Republican friends, to say, what would I do if Black Lives Matter dropped 30,000 black people on the nation's capital and laid siege to the seat of power in the middle of a joint session of Congress and broke in? What would I say if Black Lives Matter did that? I'm going to say that right now. What would, if Muslims did it? If Muslims dropped 30,000 Muslims on the seat of government in the middle of the joint session of Congress and ran in there, and there was blood on the floor and tear gas, what would we be saying? If you believe that we are all one people, you don't like the hyphenations. If you believe that we're all one country, if you don't believe in law and order, if you're against traitors, if you are for patriotism, there needs to be a uniform denunciation from top to bottom of the Republican Party of what we're seeing. And the last thing I just want to say is this. For Keisha Lance Bottoms, a black woman who was a mayor of Atlanta, when they started rioting in Atlanta, she stood up and she said, you stop it. You don't do this in Atlanta. You don't do this in America. She stood up to her base and told them to go home. Where is the President of the United States? Where is Donald Trump? Show the wisdom and the intelligence and the strength of a black woman mayor of Atlanta in the middle of this riot, and then we can get someplace.
Yeah, the difference here is that the mayor did not incite the riot.
That's right.
And the President of the United States said, Rick, I really respect what you said, but I don't understand how you don't understand how we got here. We know how we got here. We know that words matter. And when the President of the United States says again and again and again that these institutions are corrupt, they're rigged, the election was fraudulent, they're stealing it from you, when he goes out and addresses these very people today and tells them that they have to be strong and urges them to march down to the Capitol, I don't understand how you don't understand how this happened. We know how it happened, and he is culpable for this. You know, Winston Churchill said, "Dictators ride to and fro upon tigers which they dare not dismount, and the tigers are getting hungry." The president sits in the White House, and the tigers are loose at the Capitol. You know, I just let me just say one more thing, Gloria. I'm the son of an immigrant who fled a country because of scenes like this and came to the United States because this was a country of law. This is a country of laws, and many of us share that story. I am in tears today to see this scene. This is not an American scene, and this was not a necessary scene. And I understand completely why it happened.
Gloria?
I'm heartbroken. You know, I spent 10 years walking up and down those steps, covering Capitol Hill, having a great deal of respect for the people who serve in that Capitol. Most of the time, by the way, talk about policy, even with Senator Santorum over there. And I watched this today, and I said, that's my Capitol. That's my house. That's our house. And these are domestic terrorists. They're ripping it apart. And then I saw a tweet by Ivanka Trump, which she took down, which called them American patriots. She said, you know, any security breach is unacceptable, etc. But she called them American patriots. That is not what I call them. These are people who march there to do damage. And they march there to do damage in the middle of a constitutional session in which a presidential election, free and fair, was being certified. And you have to go back to what the president, this is what David is talking about, what the president said earlier today in his speech. And he said, we're going to walk down to the Capitol. We're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, the ones who support him. We're probably not going to be cheering because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. So we'll walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. And that was permission. That was permission.
And as we speak, the man who is responsible for all of this, Donald J. Trump, is in the White House watching this on TV,
Yeah.
as he has been for much of his administration, both a president and just an observer, watching these moments pass by. And this is all part of his grift. These people have stormed the Capitol, have threatened our democracy, have spurred insurrection and treason in order for a grift that's going on being centered in the White House. The grift of the Trump family raising money off of this, raising money off these lies, and the president is just standing there watching it on television, surrounded by his coterie of enablers. I want to go back to Walt.
It's hard to believe, Anderson, what's going on here in the United States Capitol right now. I've been around here for a long